Hello, my name is Michael Iantorno, and I'm here today to talk about my thesis project, HyperBound. HyperBound is a hyper-narrative created within a video game, which emphasizes the unique properties of games as a narrative device. The game that I have used for this project is Earthbound, a role-playing game for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, made in about 1994. I used a variety of different software for this project, but primarily PKHack. PKHack allowed me to go into the game and edit the map tiles, graphics, audio, and just a whole bunch of other things within the game. The most important thing that I can edit, however, is event flags, which allowed the game to change dynamically based on user input. Throughout this project, I have explored a variety of different storytelling possibilities, including ergodic and spatial narratives. I am most interested in Henry Jenkins' idea of spatial storytelling, where game designers don't simply tell stories, but they design worlds and sculpt spaces. Right now you're watching the intro sequence to the game, which establishes the large overarching narrative. Basically, you wake up in a hospital bed with no memory of who you are, and you must explore this vast world looking for clues by talking to people and getting objects, to try to figure out who you are and what has happened to you. There are about a dozen different areas within the game, ranging from the big city you see before you right now, to deserts, to tropical islands, caves, and forests. I tried to create a lot of diversity in the environments to keep the exploration aspects of the game interesting. There are also over 100 different people you can talk to within the game. Many of them will give you useful information, but some of them will just chit-chat with you, talk about the weather, the areas that they're in, or maybe not even give you anything useful at all. Half the fun of the game is just listening to what people will say. I think my dialogue writers did a really good job with that, and I personally spent a lot of time just putting in some extra flavor text for characters that really didn't have anything important to say. Speaking of my production team, it was really helpful to have a few people helping me out with the dialogue and the plot of the game. The game's world was so vast, it would have been so hard for me to fill it on my own, and having extra people to write dialogue and extra plot situations was really nice. This little situation that we're walking through right now with the construction workers and the protesters was made up by my brother. It doesn't have any bearing on the overall plot, but adds a nice little flavor to this town. Near the end of the game, you have an option of traveling within your own mind to sort out your thoughts and figure out exactly who you are. Your mind is represented by this geographical space, this very creepy looking geographical space, and if you navigate it correctly, you will end the game successfully. However, if you don't navigate your mind successfully, you'll actually damage it, and your perception of your world around you will change. Now, the chances of you navigating your mind successfully is based on how many people you've talked to and how much you've found out about yourself. The more that you know about yourself, the easier your mind is to navigate. What we're looking at right now is what happens to you if you incorrectly navigate your mind. As you can see, the whole world is pretty much screwed up. Beyond map changes and places you can no longer travel, some of the people you talk to will actually not make sense to you anymore. This represents a kind of loss of perception for the character, almost like brain damage. You can damage your mind further by taking the procedure again and failing, and you can really screw up the world even more than it is right now. Eventually you'll cut off all entrances and exits to other areas simply because you can't see them anymore. I really like this game mechanic because it shows off one of the things that games can do that other mediums cannot, and that's change based on user input. Basically, failure at the game results in destruction of the game's environment, and you can make it to the point where you actually can't play the game anymore. Speaking of playing the game, and just to wrap up, you can actually download the game at www.hyperbound.net. It's in ROM format, so you can play it on any Super Nintendo emulator.